The perfect Bitcoin trap is underway right now. In that short term, Bitcoin is dumping, but I think we need to be zooming out and be looking at this chart over here, since there's a trap playing out right now. We need to be uncovering what that next direction may be for Bitcoin. So to do this, I have a lot of charts and I have a lot of data points actually ready for you guys. So make sure to be watching till the end. And we're also going to be covering Ethereum as well. And we're going to be looking at what that next direction is likely to be and what's been happening in that shorter time frame. So with that being said, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight away into this banger. Bow. And like you can see, as I've mentioned in the intro, Bitcoin has been dumping in towards this support level in that shorter time frames, but we need to be uncovering whether this support level is going to be holding or are we going to be dumping towards the downside. Now, as you can see, we are holding this so far in the short term, but we've lost our horizontal support level that we talked about on yesterday's video, where Ethereum did hold it previously and it went parabolic. But Bitcoin looks like it's very shaky at this point and it may not actually hold this level. But the reason that we've actually moved towards the downside is the news that we've had dropping today. And you can see that we've had US GDP data dropping and initial jobless claims data dropping. And you can see right now that the initial jobless claims coming in a lot lower than expected, and this indicates that the labor market's actually strong, since there's going to be less people claiming for unemployment, and essentially this indicates that the Fed do not need to step in and lower rates to actually drive liquidity in towards the market, which actually solves this problem. And we can also see as well that the GDP, we had a surprise where it came in a lot higher, and this indicates that, you know, the economy is actually doing quite well and the Fed do not need to actually drop rates to actually stimulate the economy. So if Bitcoin does not hold this level and we actually decide to drop to the downside, we have this support level at 107k that is likely to hold, and if that doesn't hold, then we have room to go to 100k. So we need to be uncovering, is this likely? Are we just going to be going straight to 100k? What's the probability? What is the most likely scenario next? And this is what I'm going to be covering. But looking at this chart, we can see that the Bollinger Bands are squeezing inwards, and the previous two times that the Bollinger Bands have been this tight were in September and October of 2023 and September and October of 2024. And right now we're close to October and it's currently September and we have the Bollinger Bands squeezing. So this essentially indicates that we're going to be getting a massive move, since the Bollinger Bands do contract inwards, and that indicates low volatility, but when they expand you do get massive moves, and right now we're contracting. So if we look at the next few charts, so we can see previously in 2023 we had a trendline breakout in towards October before we had seasonally weak price action, and then that's where we had a massive breakout. And we can see in 2024 we had the same thing, you know, in towards October we started to dump towards the downside, and then that's where we went massively parabolic. But this time round we're already dumping before October 1st, and it's likely that if we come in towards October now, we can see a reversal. So this is the price action that tends to happen. You tend to have a trend line, and then when you break out of it in towards October 1st, you start to dump for a few days before you reverse the trend, just like 2024 there, and 2023 had the same thing. So October 1st you start to dump and then you go parabolic. But just to reiterate again, you can see that we're already dumping, so it is likely in towards October 1st we can actually start to move towards the upside. Now, one big reason why I'm still talking about moving towards the upside, although we are dumping, is the fact that we're actually trading at this massive support level over here. So you can see until we can lose the support level at 107k, I'm still going to be bullish, since we have our low here, and this is another higher low from our previous higher low over here. So you can see that you had a low, you had a higher low, another higher low, and this can potentially be another higher low. So until this market structure gets broken and we move towards the downside decisively and we get candle closes below, that's where I'm going to be looking at the 100k level to be the next level to be reached. But if that's not the case and we hold here, I do think that it's more likely we can move towards the upside. Now we can look at a 1 week liquidation scale for Bitcoin, and we can also see that the downside liquidity is getting grabbed and there's starting to be some liquidity piling up on the top side. So if the top side liquidity continues to pile up whilst we grab the downside liquidity, Bitcoin always moves to the majority, so it's more likely that we actually move towards the upside. Now, if you manage to hold this higher low in place, it is likely that this accumulation manipulation, and then the distribution pattern continues to play out towards the upside, and we maintain this pattern. But the only way this pattern will get invalidated is if we lose this low at 107,700. If we come below that point, then this pattern is then invalidated. But so far, it's still in play, and it's likely that this is just another higher low before we continue towards the upside. So if we take a closer look in towards the momentum, we can see that the 4-hour RSI for Bitcoin has been oversold, and the previous times that it's been this oversold, we actually got massive moves towards the upside. So we had 28% firstly, and then the second time this happened, we had a 23% move. The third time was a 10% move, and this time round, if we start to reverse and we hold that low and we confirm this higher low, it is likely we're going to be getting a move towards the upside. Now for that longer term, we can compare Bitcoin to gold, and we can see right now the gold is soaring towards the upside, but Bitcoin is lagging. However, we've seen this before. This is not the first time this has happened. We've seen during this trend over here, Bitcoin was moving towards the downside while gold was rallying. And then later on, we've seen a massive catch-up trade from Bitcoin. And, in April, we actually saw Bitcoin move towards the downside also, whilst we had gold moving towards the upside. And then Bitcoin had a massive catch-up move also. And right now, we're seeing gold move towards the upside massively whilst Bitcoin is moving towards the downside. So it is likely at some point, we're going to be getting a massive catch-up move from Bitcoin. So for that longer term also, we're having a lot of stable coins being minted. We can see today we had USDT being minted, and that was about $1 billion. So that's actually insane to be seeing so far, because every time that we're having USDT and USDC being minted, we're seeing the Bitcoin price follow it towards the upside. We can see on this chart over here that the USDT and the USDT supply added together, plotted on the graph, is massively moving towards the upside. But we can see every time that the stablecoin supply moves towards the upside, Bitcoin actually followed the price action towards the upside. So they do tend to be correlated. And right now, Bitcoin is moving towards the downside whilst the stablecoin supply moves towards the upside. So a catch-up trade where Bitcoin actually moves towards the upside is definitely inevitable in my opinion. So if you want to be trading yourself, make sure to click this first link down below for BitUnix. Now, BitUnix is a non-KYC global exchange that's offering you guys up to $800 in free money to be trading with, and that depends on your volumes. So if you're going to be trading anyways, make sure to be trading on BitUnix, where you could be getting up to $800 once you reach a $10 million trading volume, which is quite easy to be getting. So in my opinion, if you want to be trading, you might as well be trading on BitUnix, which is the first link down below in the description. Now, looking at Ethereum, we've been moving towards the downside, and we've been grabbing all that downside liquidity, and now the majority actually resides above us. So it is inevitable that that actually gets grabbed at a certain point. But right now we can see that Ethereum's actually lost the support level that we talked about yesterday that we needed to hold. So the next level that could be in play is this $3,890 level, which is these previous highs over here. That's a massive level that Ethereum needs to be holding, and also the 2024 highs over here, as you can see. So Ethereum right now is testing this support level, and you can see that if we can actually hold and maybe we come a bit lower, it's a great opportunity to be accumulating in this region over here, since you're testing these highs here, and this broadening wedge is playing out where we've broken out and we're now retesting it, and the price target is all the way up at a $6,400 mark. So I would not be fading this if I were you. I think this is a great opportunity to be accumulating Ethereum, and you want to be seeing a reclaim of the support level, and then that's where we can see the momentum start to pick up. So if we actually zoom in on the 2-hourly time frame and we want to be looking at what's been happening, we can actually see that Ethereum has a bullish divergence on a very shorter time frame. So it depends on the time you're watching. So this is a good opportunity to be actually adding to your Ethereum trades, because it's likely we do get a short-term bounce at a certain point, because the downside has been quite brutal. It has been moving towards the downside quite aggressively, and a bullish divergence indicates momentum is going to start slowing down in a particular direction, and it's going to start reversing towards the upside very soon. Now, the reason I think Ethereum is going to be reversing is the fact that we also have a liquidity grab in play right now. We've actually seen that the downside liquidity has been getting grabbed, and this has actually been playing out with a lot of liquidations. So if we look at the liquidations right now on Ethereum, you can see that the liquidations had a big spike as we were coming down, and this has been one of the largest spikes we've had since 2023 actually. So that's actually interesting to be knowing. and you can see that the funding rates are turning negative right now. And every time that the funding rate started to move negative, we had Ethereum actually bottom. So this is actually interesting to be, observing. You can see this area here had negative funding rates, and that was the bottom for Ethereum before we had a move towards the upside. And you can see right now that our daily stochastic RSI is actually oversold, and again this has marked many bottoms for Ethereum. So it is likely that if we can actually start to tick up on the stock RSI and Ethereum starts to reclaim this level, it is likely that will mark the bottom for Ethereum, and we're going to start to move towards the upside. So not only are we actually creating a right angled descending Bollinger wedge for Ethereum, and not only are we testing this support level, but we're also testing the V bottom neckline for Ethereum right now on that higher time frame. And you can see right now that Ethereum is actually retesting that nicely. And if we zoom out, the last time we saw this V bottom was in 2020, and we actually saw the reaction that happened. We entered the orange zone before a massive move towards the upside, and that's exactly what Ethereum's doing so far. You can see that we've entered the orange zone and we're retesting the neckline right now. So it is likely that we actually move in towards the blue zone very soon, where Ethereum goes parabolic. And we can see the monthly MACD is still bullish for Ethereum and it's ticked towards the upside. So it's likely that Ethereum's momentum is going to be massively bullish in the coming months, and we're going to continue to see the price action follow suit. So that'll be it for me. Make sure to be following me on X to be staying up to date with all my updates here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a blessed rest of your day. Peace, guys. See ya. Bye bye.